Hi, my name is Christine Jones, and I just want to let you know I'm very excited. I'm going to be starting a new program, and it's about 15 minutes in length, and it's going to be every Tuesdays. It's called Tuesday Teacher Tips and Tricks. So during that time, I am going to be giving you some suggestions on how to maximize your time with classroom management and ways to cut down on the time that you're spending on prepping and how to maximize the time that you do spend and how to chunk some of the responsibilities that you have together to streamline things as well as self care and more. I will also be inviting on guest speakers to come in and share the space and talk about how they also help manage stress or with their time management strategies. So, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, please let me know because I am looking for people to share the space. And when I invite you in, it will be your show. So I will be talking to you and asking you questions and finding out how you work the best because it's always good to get other people's feedback. And I can give you my tips and tricks, and I will be doing that. But I also think it's a good idea to hear from other people as well. So, again, I'm going to be kicking this off in October. It'll give myself time to get used to the regular school routine, as well as giving you time to get used to the regular school routine. And since I've started back, things are a little bit hectic right now, as they usually are. Things start to settle down. Some of the things that I find that are helpful during this time period, because it gets, like I said, very hectic at this time of year, is to start to take care of myself more and focus in on self care. So if I am tired after a long day, I listen to my body and I take a nap if I need to. Cut back on social media just for a little bit so I can make sure that I am practicing the self care and having some downtime. Because when you're teaching, you go from the summertime to having relaxation, and unless if you have children, which I had three, but typically you go from relaxation, and even the demands of having children at home are very different than the demands that you have as a teacher. There's a lot of new initiatives that are coming at you. There's new schedules, you have new students, you have IEPs, you have speech information. So all of that can be very it takes a lot of brain power to make sure that you are servicing the children the best that you can, as well as we have beginning of the year testing. And as I also have my own testing that I do, so I can compare my testing compared to the testing that they are doing online to see if I'm seeing a match or to see if there's a disconnect and to find out how I need to support my students the best. So, with all of that, it takes a lot of time. So again, at the beginning of the school year, I focus in on self care and making sure that I am taking care of my needs. Um, so, one of the ways that I practice self care during the day is I am getting 10,000 steps in today just by in my teaching day alone. So, I have a smartwatch, so I keep track of that. You can also do any kind of app that you want, but check your watch to see how much you're walking, how much you're standing, trying to fit in times of exercise into your day. So what I do is I take the longer way to go to like the mailbox, or if I don't really need to go check, I still go around and I still check because it gives me the practice of getting the exercise. And as I'm exercising, I'm thinking and strategizing what I'm going to be doing next and how to optimize my plan time so I make sure that I don't waste time and I can get things done. So I'm prioritizing my next step. So sometimes when you go and jump in, you're like, oh, I got to hurry up and I got to get back to my classroom. I've got to get this done. Sometimes you don't think through things all the way. So what happens is you are jumping from one activity to another. So you definitely want to be able to streamline what you have to do. So focusing and on one thing at a time and completing that task before going on to another is very, very beneficial. So that also helps with getting your steps in too, because sometimes when you're working, you'll need to work in an area, then you can also go to another area. But I'm finding that when I do that, I'm actually getting more steps in because I'm getting the job done in a shorter period of time. And so I'm actually getting up and moving to the next activity quicker. When you bounce from activity to activity, sometimes it's just a matter, you're just shuffling papers, is essentially what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you are really focused on what you're doing. The other thing that I like to do is my children need brain breaks. So I'll get up and exercise with my students, and that way, and something that I really enjoy doing because it's a way to engage with your students on a different level. So you can reach them socially and emotionally and have fun with them and connect with them. So that's one way. So I actually incorporate my own exercising into it to make sure that I'm getting that. Another thing that I do is I also incorporate self care by deep breathing and also mindful moments. So we want our children to be able to focus and being able to be calm. And one of the ways that we do that is we actually have to explicitly teach that. So every day we do a mindful moment. We just relax first, and then we might look at some bubbles and they have to track it, something where they're visually tracking things, going from left to right. Because when they're tracking things left to right, they're actually getting ready for some reading skills too, because you're crossing the midline. And when you're tracking that, that helps your right and left brain work together. So that's another strategy that I do. And they have to make sure that they're aware of everything across that whole screen, because I am very fortunate. I have a big TV where they can track across that space. Another thing that I also like to do is to teach them deep breathing. So, when you teach deep breathing, it is essential to teach them deep breathing outside of a stressful situation. So, you want to make sure that you teach them how to deep breathe in deeply from their diaphragm. So, when they're first learning how to breathe, they'll shoulder breathe like this, and they'll say they're deep breathing. So when you're teaching them, you can have them run in place, because then they can put their hand over their heart and then they can feel their heart beating fast. And then you teach them to put their hand on their heart so they can continue to feel it, and another hand on their stomach. And they could feel what it feels like for their stomach to go in and out. They can also feel their heartbeat slowing. So when their heartbeat slows, they can tell if they need to stop or not. So as we go on, the children are able to tell me if they need more deep breaths, and how they do a self check and they put their hand over their heart. If their heart is still racing, then they know that they need to calm down more. So that is one thing that I like to teach them. So the reason why deep breathing is so important is because it can de-escalate situations very quickly. So if you have a heightened situation, you ask for them to deep breathe, you're able to work on the solution much quicker. So, one thing that I would caution is that if you can de escalate the situation very quickly, it does not mean that you shouldn't talk. So you need to you need to talk to them about it, so that way they can be problem solvers and they can figure out what they need to do next time to be able to solve their problems quicker. So this is just a little example of what this will look like. So these were some of my tips and tricks that I just gave you, talking about how to incorporate more exercise into your day, and how to do mindful moments, and how to practice self-care within the time frame of your school day. So again, I am looking for other people to come and join me for teacher tips and tricks. I'm going to be starting this in October, so it's a time for you to be featured. And you don't have to be in the school setting to be able to give teachers tips and tricks. It could be if your expertise is in emotional well-being, and self regulating, by all means, you're more than welcome to come and join me. And I look forward to starting in October. And the time is very short, it's 15 minutes. Everybody has 15 minutes to spare. So, hopefully, if you don't, then I think you need to go back to, working on the self-care. But hopefully you can join me for 15 minutes to make sure that we are ready to teach our children. So again, it's Teacher Tuesdays, teacher tips and tricks. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye bye.